Hi, RedEye. I'm Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Go check out Smashed on October 19th.
I really enjoyed Smashed.
Good.
It's such a great performance from you.
Thanks.
I saw that you did some heavy drinking just so you could get in the mindset and know what that was like.
Yeah.
You said that you learned a little bit about yourself
Yeah.
from doing that. Tell me how that night went and what you feel like you learned about yourself.
Well, I mean, that night was more about kind of getting a bond and a relationship going with Aaron Paul, because we didn't really know each other before we shot this film, and we had to really, bring a history to that relationship. So we went out drinking together and got really drunk. And I don't know what I really learned about myself from that particular night, other than that I'm kind of a lightweight, because James, our director, took us out and he had this whole bar crawl sort of set up for us, and he was like, had all these cool LA bars he was going to take us to, and we made it to 2 out of like 7, because I was just done.
What were you guys drinking?
Tequila.
The whole time?
Well, that's all we really got to. I think the plan was to change at some point, but yeah, we were just basically doing tequila
That
shots.
tends to put things on fast forward.
Yeah. So it was kind of unfortunate for me. But what I learned a lot about myself just through sort of, playing the character and kind of because I had to really look at myself and my own issues, because, I have a lot of friends who drink, but I've never been that big of a drinker, so that's not really a problem for me. But when it comes to just looking at yourself honestly and trying to be a better person, we all have our issues. So I definitely, I had to work through some of those and figure out a lot about myself.
I'm sure as you were going through this, you look back on the time when you were drinking a little bit more, several years ago. When you think about that time, what comes to mind?
For me, it's sort of, I never went to college, so I never really went through that big, hard partying, phase. Although I've spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, where the culture is very much, everybody drinks all the time, and the line is very blurry on when that stops, because we don't have regular office jobs, we don't have 9 to 5s. Sort of when you grow up is a little bit, it's blurred. So that's been interesting, sort of looking back on all the different people I've met in my life who I've been out drinking with, who are still going out drinking every night. And it's sort of like, it's an interesting culture to be a part of, and wondering what that means about our kind of maturity level and when or if that's ever supposed to stop.
How late were you out the night that you and Aaron and James were
Not that late at all, because we started pretty early. Like, we had dinner, started like 8 o'clock. We're only out till like midnight or something, because it just went downhill so fast.
That's when you're not in that mind frame anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know that I ever really was, to be honest. Although I can very much relate to these characters, and I have tons of friends that can definitely relate to it. But I just was never. I was always like the goody two shoes, to be honest.
Did it seem like Aaron had a little bit easier of a time?
Yeah. Although he was pretty far up too. He took me up to my house, and my husband I sort of fell into his arms when he opened the door, and he remembers, he's like, yeah, Aaron was pretty far gone too.
Was he carrying you?
No, him and James were sort of, they had one arm each, and, up the stairs to my house. Yeah.
No, you guys are the best.
Yeah, it was very much like that. Yeah, it was very much like that.
I know you went to some AA meetings to research this movie. Tell me a memorable story or interaction that you had that maybe you haven't gotten to bring up in the interview.
Yeah, one of the interesting things was seeing so many young women, I think, because I went to a lot of different types of meetings, and some of them were more older working class men, or, some of them were sort of older women who had been through a lot. But there were some meetings where there were a lot of women in their early 20s, or even girls that were like 18, 19, who were getting their 1-year chip, and sort of getting to see that and listen to their stories. And it really kind of hits home how easily that could be me or my friends, or, had my life gone down a different road, or had alcohol just been something I was predisposed to be really attracted to, It just makes you realize that no matter how old you are, if you have a problem, it probably stems from the first time you drink, and it's going to be a problem for the rest of your life. And I think that those girls were really lucky that they discovered that about themselves so early.
How much do you think people ignore warning signs? I mean, in the film, your character pees in bed, or peeing on the floor of a convenience store. It's like, at a distance, you're like, okay, this person might have some issues going on. But when you're inside that life, you might kind of justify like, well, I had to go. I was in the convenience store. What do you want me to do?
And I think exactly, still being, in her 20s, even though she's in her late 20s, it's still like, no, I'm young enough to get away with this. I'm still cute, right? This is still funny.
It's charming, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you see that point in the movie where she starts to realize how not funny it is anymore, and like, oh, that's actually scary and sad, and what am I doing with my life? I'm a teacher, I'm an adult, and I'm spending my nights doing stuff like this. This isn't, the picture I had in my mind of the type of person I was going to be.
Well, I couldn't help but have Kesha's voice in my head, either during the movie or preparing questions. Think about, because kids hear about brushing your teeth with Jack, and
I know.
That sounds awesome.
I know. Oof. I think my 7-year-old niece was singing that lyric, a little while ago. I was like, whoa, what? Yeah, it's a little scary.
Well, that's how people kind of get it in their head of
yeah, that it's sort of a glamorous thing to do. And our movie, it's not glamorous. It's not anything. It's just sort of what these people do with their lives, and they realize that it's a problem for them. But it's certainly not a message like this is cool or this is totally uncool. It's just a personal thing. Like, some people can drink and have fun, and it's a great thing that they do to relax and have a good time with their friends. And for other people, it's scary and hugely negative.
What did you mean when you said that you get somewhat childlike when you're drunk?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I just get very giggly and dancey. Like, I dance everywhere. I mean, when Aaron and Paul and I
ballet type of dance?
No, goofy, ridiculous. Tend to go into jokey interpretive dance type thing, whatever song is on, I'll act it out. It's ridiculous.
Do you have an example of a time when you've done this?
I'm trying to remember what Aaron and I were dancing to at the bar when we were drunk. We were so obnoxious. We took over the whole bar as though we were we were almost the only people in it. I think there were only 3 other people who were probably just staring at us, we were really strange. But yeah, we were dancing. We were doing the dirty dancing thing. I was running up to him and
Did you jump into his arms?
It didn't actually work, but we were going for that kind of thing, and so just kind of a childlike, obnoxious. We are the only people that exist in this world type of attitude, I think is the drunken state.
I'm sure it must have been a blast to be around Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally together. Tell me about a conversation you overheard between them, or something about their dynamic that amused you.
They're the best couple in the world. I really think they should win some sort of trophy for it or something.
Best couple?
Best couple ever in the universe of all time. They're just amazing. They're so adorable and funny together. She has the dirtiest jokes. She's the best, most raunchy, awesome sense of humor, and he's just, them together, it's just incredible. And they're so cute because whenever Nick was working and Megan wasn't, she would still come to set and hang out, and vice versa. So they just love being around each other, and they are just head over heels, and it's kind of adorable.
Do you remember one of her jokes?
They love, I guess, at the Q&As that we've been going to, there's a scene in the movie with kind of a raunchy joke, and they love doing plays on that sort of phrase, which I don't know that I can really say.
You can, go for it.
Yeah, the moist pussy phrase. They love to just bring that up pretty much any time. He'll be talking about how much he loves Megan, and she'll just jump in, well, he does love a moist pussy. I mean, what can I say? It's just wow. There's no shame there.
Well, I love in the movie his character learns not to say that,
exactly.
So they want to repeat it as much as possible.
So now they're just gonna go with it.
Good to see that he's learned the lesson.
Yeah, totally.
Tell me a guilty pleasure movie of yours, Mary.
Guilty pleasure movie, Showgirls. I kind of love Showgirls.
Wow, how come?
I just think it's kind of an amazing movie. Just
on purpose?
Probably not. Probably not on purpose. But just in that way that it's just you're watching it and you're how did they know they didn't know this was going to be so brilliant. The scene where that she's talking to the girl when she first gets to Vegas and she's eating the French fries and the girl's so where are you from? Just throws the fries, different places. And I'm wow, that was just a choice. That was such a bold choice. I don't know. I think it's incredible.
When I think of that movie, I think of the sex scene in the pool where you almost expect all of the water to splash out of the entire pool. It's wow, okay. This is enthusiastic.
Again,
That's nice.
Bold choice.
I have to imagine being in Scott Pilgrim and having Michael Cera fighting 7 different people for your love may have put some pressure on your husband to really step up the romanticism.
True.
How much did he feel like he had to really just kind of come out swinging?
Well, we got engaged shortly after that, so maybe that was his thought process. He was like, it's time. I've got to fight. I've got to fight for this girl. No, he loved it. It had like the best ex-boyfriends ever in that movie, with Jason Schwartzman and Chris Evans and Mae Whitman and, and Michael Cera. It's just, everybody was just, it was the best possible group. So I don't think there was very much jealousy going on. It was more jealousy that I got to hang out with those guys. He was like, that's not fair.
What's the most extreme thing you've ever heard someone doing to win over a girlfriend?
Did you hear about this guy who proposed? He's a pilot, and he actually made his girlfriend think that the plane was about to crash. This is a horrible story. So he's like flying the plane, and she's sitting next to him, and he starts taking it into a nosedive, and he's like, oh my God, get the emergency handbook out of the glove box. He's like, we're crashing. She's like freaking out, and she opens it, and there's a ring inside, and he's like, ha ha! That's just like the worst.
Did she say yes?
She said yes, apparently. I guess to them that was like a funny haha kind of joke. To me, I would want to kill him and never speak to him ever again. Like, that would be the worst possible way to get proposed to.